Hey everyone, my name is Sarah and I'm with Sirens Books, and today I'm discussing how I read and rate my books. Okay, so first, I just want to say thank you all for being here. If this is your first time here, please remember to subscribe. If not, welcome back. So, today I'm just going over kind of how I read and rate my books, and how I kind of keep track of all those. I've been told that I read an obscene number of books, probably on a monthly basis. I read anywhere between 10 and 16, just depending on how busy I am that month. Um, I think I've been averaging this year probably around 16 a month. I read on all different formats. That includes audiobooks, ebooks, as well as physical books. So everything that I read gets a star rating, and I use Storygraph and Goodreads primarily to do the rating systems. And both of them use a 1 to 5 star rating, but Storygraph actually allows you to use half stars. In addition to using Goodreads and Storygraph for my reviews and ratings, I also post my reviews on Instagram, as well as if I get a arc from NetGalley, I'll post my reviews there as well. Um, but primarily, if I'm not writing like a full review, you'll see my ratings on Goodreads and Storygraph. So as I mentioned, Goodreads uses a star rating of 1 to 5, and the how I rate my books is just a little bit different than how they have it written or recommended on their site. So for a 1 star rating for me, that's a DNF. That's a book that I could not finish for whatever reason, and I always rate them based off of characters, plot, and pacing. Those are the main things that I'm looking at whenever I'm rating a book. If I'm giving a book a 1 star because I DNF that book, it's likely because I just could not finish it. I pretty much finish every single book that I read, as part of like some pathological need to finish what I've started. But if if a book gets a 1 and I could not finish it, it's probably because I considered it something that I just could not read. I could not finish it. So pacing bad, writing's bad, story's bad, can't connect with the characters, like just across the board, could not finish, wasn't interested in it, had to put it down, DNF. That is a 1 star rating for me. 2 stars, that's a book that I just didn't like. And in those cases, and I don't feel like that happens very often either. It's a book that, for the most part, just wasn't for me. If that's the case, I didn't like the story. The pacing was slow. The writing didn't connect with me, and maybe I didn't like the characters either. So that's a book that I didn't like. It wasn't for me, and maybe we'll try again later. A 3 star book is a book that was okay. It was, and when I say it was okay, it was just okay. It was fine. That's a book that I probably enjoyed elements of it, but for whatever reason, maybe the pacing was bad. The storyline might have been too predictable, so I didn't connect with the plot, or maybe the characters weren't speaking to me, or maybe like the main characters annoyed me. So that's like a 3 star rating in my opinion. Is the book was okay. In a series, I would say a 3 star book is a book that I probably will shelve the sequels, meaning that I'm going to be on the fence if I'm going to continue on with the series if I give a book a 3 star. And unless honestly, like I see a lot of positive reviews for like the sequel, or again out of my pathological need to finish something, it's a good indication that I probably won't pick up the sequel just because there's so many other books to read. So if a book gets a 3 star rating for me, it's okay. It's not necessarily a book I'm recommending, but it's not bad by any means. It's just, we didn't connect. Now getting on to some of the books that I give 4 and 5 star reviews to. A 4-star book for me is a book that I liked. In the instance that I'm giving a book a 4-star rating, that means I'm continuing on with the series. That means I am recommending that book to friends. That means that the tropes or the storyline in that book really spoke to me. It's some of my favorite things to read. If it's getting a 4-star rating, I liked the book. A good example of like a 4-star book would be Love Theoretically, which just came out this past month. I really like that book. It's from an author that I liked, and I'll continue reading books by that author. And I like the book, so it's definitely something that I would recommend to other people to read. And then a 5-star book is a book that I absolutely loved. That's a book that I'm making a part of my personality. That's a book that I'm writing a review on. That is a book that I am recommending to every single person that I talk to for the next month. That is a book that gave me a book hangover. A 5-star rating for me is a book that had all of the elements that I like. So the pacing is on point. The characters are compelling. The writing is phenomenal. Um, it has everything that I'm looking for in a book. And it's, I want to say 5 stars are probably rare just because I'm such a mood reader. Sometimes a book will be a 4-star read, but if I read it on the right day, the right time, it should have been a 5-star or vice versa. But a 5-star read for me is a book that I am looking up the author's back catalog. I am downloading their next book. I've pre-ordered another book in the sequel. This is a definite yes, will recommend, must read 5-star books. Another popular rating system for bookstagrammers or booktubers is the spicy rating. And those are for the books that have romance in them. I only rate adult romance books, or specifically books that have romance in them, like if it's a fantasy romance with a spicy rating. And I do those a little bit differently. I know that the spicy rating isn't really on any platform, so you're not going to find it on Storygraph unless it's specifically written out, or Goodreads unless, again, it's specifically written out. But you will find them in reviews. So like if I'm writing a review and I find it's a spicy book, then I rate them on a 1 to 3 scale. So how I rate my romance reads, again, it's on a 1 to 3 scale. For me, a 0 spicy is going to be your Fade to Black or Closed Door romances. Pretty straightforward. If there's no spice, there's no spice. If it's 1 spicy, a book that I would consider, and that's really popular, so it's probably a good reference. A book that I would consider like a 1 chili pepper or a 1 out of 3 on the spicy scale would be A Court of Thorns and Roses. The plot is the central focus, and the love story is secondary. A 2 out of 3, I would consider where there's a balance between the spice levels and the plot. So where they're a little bit more mixed in, you're getting probably 3 or more explicit scenes. And again, in the same genre, the one that I would consider a 2 out of 3 would probably be A Court of Silver Flames. If we're using books as a reference to like how I think of books as spicy. Books that have a 3 out of 3 is pretty much anything by like Katie Roberts, or it's Ice Planet Barbarians. These are books that the plot is minimal, but the spice is maximal. Okay, so that's how I read and review and rate my books. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. But if not, thanks for joining, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, everyone.